4, 3.
Always on guard, defending the people's rights.
Alrighty.
Welcome, pudding heads, cyborgs, and others, to the 71st production of an Unearthly Podcast, where our opening transitions are still better than Series 8 so far. We're streaming live on September 10, 2014, and featuring Robot of Sherwood, written by Mark Gaddis. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Hi.
And for the first time, Eric Setzer Craig.
Hello.
And Shayna, another random pervert Messina.
Greetings.
Start with, before we go into the news, since we've got a few first-timers on the cast, would you guys like to talk about yourselves a bit? Tell us your relationship with Doctor Who or anything that pops into your head.
Well, biggest thing with Doctor Who is, I've been with this show for as long as I can remember. I remember first watching Caves of Androzani when I was like 5, and I remember when I was like 10 years old, I ended up watching through every episode of the classic series that my parents had recorded, like from first Doctor all the way to 7th. So yeah, I have a fairly decent knowledge of the show. For the reason I've been getting more and more irritated with what's going on, but I'll go into that later.
And I kind of came into this with the new Who. First Doctor was the 9th. And then I got to be introduced to some of the bits and pieces of the old Who, mainly the 5th Doctor, because of this guy's wanting to cosplay him since he's the spitting image.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If I had actually been able to show up at the GeekCon version, I would have been as the 5th Doctor.
Also, we have so many reptiles over here. So many.
All the reptiles.
No, we don't have all of them.
Well, no, but a decent amount.
That is all.
And yes, I have seen Eric in his cosplay. It is pretty good.
I've seen it, but I didn't see Celery.
I saw Eric in his cosplay.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can get a picture of Eric in his cosplay, that would be awesome.
I believe he's in some of my con footage at one point.
Yeah.
I've got some pictures of him lying around.
Yes.
Cosplay.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm currently working on it to make it even better. Sorry.
Yeah, you'll have to get a piece of plastic celery or something.
Oh,
We do have celery. It just kept falling off because of the magnet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bummer. I have to find a new one.
We found it eventually. It was stuck to a chair in the bedroom.
Yeah, it was funny.
We only found it upon cleanup. It looked like an office war went off in there.
Not surprising. Everything looks like a bomb went off in them by the end of the con. Anywho.
Par for the course.
So on to our news. We have our own distressing trend in news this week. Lost Stories is here with a vengeance. To start off, director Michael Kerrigan of the season 26 episode Battlefield has died at the age of 61. He was also a director of... No, it is not quite a full run.
No.
Well, it's a fraction of it. And he also directed 4 episodes of the Sarah Jane Adventures, so he was not a stranger to New Who either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot find a listing of what he died from. At 61, however, anybody want to lay odds on cancer?
Cancer or something that caused premature cancer, stuff like that. Yeah,
Would not
most
be
likely.
Matt, he was in the BBC studios in the 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
along with several other Doctor Who actors who we know have had or have died from cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't use radiation in your episodes. Just use some crappy green filtering.
It's not that. It's, what did they use around pipes again? I keep forgetting what that is.
Asbestos.
Asbestos, yeah. They used a lot of asbestos in Britain for a long time.
Yeah.
Personally, Battlefield is one of my favorite episodes. It's a very split episode among fans, and we'll probably end up reviewing it at some point.
Probably.
It's also one of the episodes in my favorite Doctor Who season of all time, so this is unpleasant for me.
Mm-hmm.
And on to more lost stories. Another person involved in the production of the Seventh Doctor has died, and in this case it is Jane Baker, generally known as the second half of the name Pippin Jane Baker, which is often credited as if they were one person.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably best remembered by most people as co-creator of the Ronnie.
Yep.
Albeit, you know, Pip and Jane Baker's writing credits on Doctor Who are kind of colored. I mean, they did write Mark of the Ronnie, which was a good episode.
Darn good episode.
But then they were highly involved in season 23, the infamous Trial of a Time Lord season.
Which I don't necessarily blame them. I blame other BBC going on.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they were highly related in the sense that the original writer died in process, and they were pretty much told to cobble it back together.
I thought, didn't they start it too?
No,
I don't
not that I'm
know.
aware of.
I do know that part of it was that the original ending that was written for The Ultimate Foe had to be scrapped and started over from scratch. But I don't think they were part of the inspiration behind it. I think it was pretty much a Holmes, Sayward, and/or Turner thing that they much came in on it towards.
Yes, but they're also responsible for Terror of the Vervoids.
Oh. That episode.
They're not part of the BBC props department who made those costumes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are not. They are only responsible for the story, and if the rest of it would have actually fallen together as well as it should have, then the story wouldn't have suffered as much as it did. But yeah.
Granted, as much as Doctor Who fandom likes to give all of the credit for the design to the writer, here's looking at Terry Nation, it's not actually the case that the costumes are created by the writer.
Nope.
Did we see what age Baker died at?
Do we see an age?
I'm not seeing an age in this article.
I do not know. I know they were active in the television writers and screenwriters from 1961 onward. So that would have probably made them at least in the 70s, if not in the 80s.
Sounds like we lost somebody.
I'm trying to pull it up on...
We lost Tim.
Yeah. Never mind. I'm trying difficult ways to find this. I can just search for Time in the Ronnie, and I'll be able to find your link on IMDb.
I found Jane Baker on IMDb. It doesn't give her birth date.
No? Did you try Wiki?
Yes. Nobody has when they were born.
Active 1961 to 2000. So
Yes,
they were
worked on
they
the
were
alibi.
writers since the 60s.
Right. Which means they were probably born
So I
during
put
the
them
war.
at 70 or higher.
They were probably born during the war and their records were lost.
Most likely. So they would have been at least 20 years old by the time that they started writing in 61.
Right.
Yeah.
So
61 to that, it's 50 years. So they're at least in their early to mid 70s.
yes.
I would say that's the most likely.
Mm-hmm. Most likely somewhere in their 70s. So it's still a little early, but it's not as bad as the previously mentioned.
Okay.
On to our next. That actually brings us off of Lost Stories from Doctor Who, and we actually move on to a Bond villain dying.
Well, Bond villain, yes, but he also played a lot of other bit roles.
Well, I'm just reading the headline for starters because I don't know the guy.
Oh, Richard Keel had a long and varied history as an actor, but he did make his big money when he finally hit the Bond villain. He even played Aliens.
He is not the most handsome guy.
No, he never was the most handsome guy.
Yeah.
And that suited him because also in TV he played a shit ton of villains for The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Wild Wild West, Kolchak the Night Stalker, and he was also up for grabs for The Incredible Hulk.
At least, you know, he knew where he stood.
Oh yeah, and he was huge. Literally, that man was tall.
And he was 74, so we're thinking he's around the same age as Jane Baker. And again, acting in all those BBC studios, the pre-asbestos people.
Mm-hmm.
Probably cancer.
Probably cancer.
So to balance out all this news, we do have one sci-fi piece of good news, and that is that Kenny Baker, best known for his role as R2-D2, recently turned 80 years old and is still alive and kicking and planned to appear in the next Star Wars movie.
Woo!
Woohoo!
So once again, R2 beats everybody else.
Well, you know, some people die early, other people live forever.
And it is,
You know-
and it is no shock that the man in the suit for R2-D2 is going to outlive everyone he works with.
That's because he's in the plastic armor, man.
Although, you know,
R2-D2 is
Christopher
the
Lee
shit.
has 20 years on him and is still going strong.
And doing another rock album.
Yes.
He's got at least another rock album or two in him. Christopher Lee will live forever. He just needs to prey on somebody so he can drink their blood and
The
become
rest
youthful
of the
again.
human race will be gone, and there's Christopher Lee and Kenny Baker looking like they're on the set of Twins.
There's a reference.
God.
Oh boy. I'm twin brother Julius.
Where's the chopper? Can Christopher Lee do a Arnold Schwarzenegger voice?
Hello, I'm your twin brother Julius.
I am going to sing. I'm going to read you a children's book.
I think the question we should be asking, do we want him to?
I think we all know the answer to that question.
I think Christopher Lee's Austrian accent still has to be better than Sean Connery's Egyptian Spanish accent.
John Connery only has one accent. It doesn't matter if he's playing an Egyptian or a Russian.
Suck it, Trebek. Suck it long and suck it hard. You and your dago mustache and your greasy hair.
Yeah, you know, if you don't actually know much about Highlander, you'd swear he was from frickin' Ireland or something.
In front of an Italian guy pretending to be Irish.
Scottish. And
No,
if
but
he was
Scottish.
French.
Oh. Wow, I always keep getting those messed up.
There you go. All the Italians,
Anyway.
Frenchmen, Irish, and Scots just turned off the.
Now that we've insulted about half the world, it's time for the Germans.
Yes, I mean, no.
You want, I can get a list.
Speaking of alienating things, we might as well move on to our next bit of news, which is a heavily or semi-heavily, at least angrily discussed news topic, which caused a bit of a change to an episode, which I think actually kind of hurt the episode in ways that I'll mention, but some of you might have heard, and obviously the episode's been out by now, so if anyone who knew the script would have seen in the episode, that a certain scene was cut from the episode due to recent events. Those recent events being the murdering by beheading of several journalists. The article doesn't mention what country that took place in, but I thought it was outside the U.S. Does anybody know?
I hope it's outside the
Give me a
U.S.
second.
Yeah,
pretty sure
if journalists are being beheaded in the U.S., then the Constitution is being grossly violated.
Yeah.
Well, people are definitely being beheaded from time to time in the U.S. Did you ever watch Buffy?
kind of an off-topic to make a joke there, Phil.
And now we have insulted the dead. But you tish!
You're sure that's one of our target audiences?
Except for the people who are sensitive and living.
It looks like he was killed in Syria.
Okay.
Not the best of places.
It's technically an unknown desert location, but they were in Syria when they were kidnapped. So it could have been Iraq,
Most
could have
likely.
been Syria, could have been Egypt, could have been Libya.
Most likely
Could have
somewhere
been
out
any
there.
place in the Middle East which doesn't like us. Take a pick. Throw a dart.
just make a map the size of the wall and throw a dart. You might get close.
I mean, Israel likes us. Egypt kind of tolerates us, and that's about it. Well,
Pretty
Saudi
much.
Arabia is generally on our side too. Generally.
Yeah, Egypt tolerates us because we still give them a bucket-load of money just so we can see the sights.
Yeah.
Wait, Egypt's not between governments anymore? I can never keep track.
I'm not sure.
Like, last I heard, we had knocked down half the governments in the Middle East or watched them get knocked down, and I don't know what grew from the rubble.
Come on, Egypt would be crazy to turn down that kind of money.
Oh
Anyway.
wait, no, we're bombing Syria. That's
Anyway.
serious news.
Anyway,
Anyway, but yeah, my
we're off topic.
We're way off topic.
Regarding the article, for those not aware, initially there was a scene where I'm fairly certain it was a cyborg had his head chopped off, and that was how the audience was supposed to find out he was a cyborg. I'm fairly certain that in the end we had to rely on exposition. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of that sentence.
Yeah, I think so. I
So
think you are correct.
That's why I feel it did end up hurting the episode, but I can understand why it was cut, even if I given the
I don't
choice,
agree
would
with
not
it.
have done so. But yeah, I'm like,
I wouldn't agree with it either because this is supposed to be medieval ages. We shouldn't be shying
Yeah.
away from the obvious stuff that happened then.
yeah.
It
I'm like-
is such a jump to political correctness, this world.
Yeah.
And
Like
it's...
I said, that's where I understand why it happened and that it was probably unavoidable, but at the same time, I'm not in favor of that
No.
occurring.
Especially
Yeah.
when it affects an episode negatively.
Yeah, I mean, this is apples and oranges.
And here's the thing: if the change had happened during the writing, like obviously the news hadn't happened yet, but if this had happened during the shooting, even if they could turn around and be like, okay, we have to lop off a different body part, that's fine because the scene still would have happened in a way that would have done what it needed for the story.
Well, yeah, but then they would. But this is very short notice.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They couldn't have done that.
And re-edit that scene.
Right, they would have had to
weeks'
start
time.
shooting again. Yeah, they would have had to start shooting again after the entire season had already gone through post.
Yes. And
Which
with
works
that happening, they
works
can't do that. My problem
That works
is...
for some movies, but it does not work for most TV shows.
No.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm really, really, really opposed to this form of political correctness because watching a medieval drama where somebody's getting his head cut off and watching two terrorists chop the heads off of a journalist is apples and oranges.
And I should also point out that this was also the villain and he didn't die.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if they were showing, something on the French Revolution, would they have been, taken out the guillotine scenes? You kind of can't because it's history.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine to dump someone in a vat of molten
Gold, apparently, yeah.
gold, yeah.
Did we watch any executions in the Reign of Terror?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's
think
mostly
so.
still images these days.
They talked about the guillotine.
Oh,
but
they
I don't
talked
think
about
we
the
saw
guillotine a lot.
But yeah,
They're
if
going to make that
this
thing
had
used.
happened back when the Reign of Terror aired, the BBC would have been like, screw it. We're showing it. We filmed it. We're showing it. And nowadays it's like, oh, we can't show that. Somebody might be offended.
It's either that or they would have cut the entire serial.
Or replaced it somewhere else where it wouldn't be so close to when something like that happened. And
what
make
I
everything
say
out of order.
to the BBC worldwide and everybody is grow up and grow a pair.
Mm-hmm. I am quite tired of censorship on TV, which is why I've gone to mostly watching stuff on the net in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is actually not a this is not something this is not an isolated incident either. I mean, heck, look at Pokemon. There are 2 episodes that are no longer that were pulled from airing and have never been aired due to the Japanese earthquake, and they were actually supposed to be pretty. They were supposedly pretty good pretty plot important episodes too, and never shown them. It's like, I mean, I get why they did it, but it's like, come on, statute of limitations, guys.
Even there, again, kids show versus real events, people are not going to be that offended.
Yeah.
It's not going to give people traumatic flashbacks.
Right.
At least not most of them.
And if they are, they shouldn't be watching TV, they should be in a center.
Exactly. That or
The
they should
human
just be
race
in
is
a little
more
room by
flexible than
themselves.
They give us credit for.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. If you cannot, if you can, like you had said, kind of calls back to what you said before. If you're so traumatized by this, by this murder that, you can't watch that scene happen, you should not be watching an episode where Doctor Who meets Robin Hood. You should probably bow out at the beginning of the episode, if not beforehand, because Doctor Who is not known for its low body count.
Exactly. There's quite
All
the
right.
body count in this one, too.
So that's my opinion. Deal with it. Move on.
Drop the mic.
Editing sucks.
Onto some less controversial news. Although I should mention, I feel like that episode in general, I think was cut quite a bit. I think they ran over time, but that's still not one of the things that would have cut.
Yeah.
Viewing figures. I'm thinking this is BBC One because it usually is. 5.2 million for Robot of Sherwood, which is about 60% or so. That's off the top of my head, not using actual math of what we had for Deep Breath.
It's still 1/4 of the total TV audience in England. Now think about that.
That's quite a few people.
Everybody in England sitting down watching their tellies on Saturday Saturday night? Yes.
Yeah, Saturday
In
night.
England? and 1/4 of them were watching Doctor Who. That's still a huge number.
Mm-hmm.
That puts them as the second-rated program of the day. ITV, BBC's direct competitor, was top with The X Factor, which is basically Simon Cowell's one of Simon Cowell's shows.
Punch. Is it just me, or does Simon Cowell have the most punchable face in the universe? Who's with me?
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Bring back Shia LaBeouf.
Thank you, Skeletor.
Actually, yes, it was a Skeletor reference, and a Will Wheaton one too.
So shall we move on to the Australians?
I think we should.
Off to the
yes, we
Aussies.
had Australian overnight ratings, and that was 1.085 million national viewers. It was the second highest rating drama of the day after, I don't know if this is pronounced Anzac Girls or ANZAC Girls.
Either way,
Or
they
not
regularly
knowing how
beat Doctor Who down there.
Do Australians say Z or Z?
I think they probably say Z. So it'd be ANZAC.
And it puts it as the ninth highest rated program of the day overall.
You mean of the week, don't you?
Ninth highest rated
of the day.
Cities, in big cities.
Oh, in big cities.
There's a period
Second
between
highest
that and
rated
big
drama
cities.
of the day, and ninth in big cities. And these ratings don't include time-shifted viewers, so it might not include the West Coast of Australia.
Well, it's saying it's the ninth highest of everything, the second highest of dramas only.
Yeah, I just said.
Yeah, well, you were saying, I'm like, the cities only, I think, actually mirror
They
that.
do
It's the
say,
same
if you
different
look
thing.
at the article, they do say in the big cities.
Big
And
cities,
that's probably
and,
because you
and
cannot
regional,
actually-
no, in parentheses it says and regional and rural viewers. It's just the big cities. The big cities only is 681,000 versus the 1.085 million. So that's saying like something around 65% are in the big cities.
So it's basically the second highest drama in both, and ninth highest in big cities. Nope, ninth highest in both.
Yeah. Kind of
So
wondering why
for once, the big cities ratings reflected the whole of Australia. I'm not sure how they get those figures from the Outback.
Boy.
Well,
They
they
just talk about.
They just have a kangaroo going window to window.
We just have
Keeping up
Bruce
people.
going from window to window, asking for numbers.
And
now we've offended Australia.
Woo! Let's go for a world
Now we
tour.
go for Canada next. Oh wait, I just did.
Hey there, eh?
Sorry, we don't have Canadian ratings for Robot of Sherwood. We'll have to talk about Canada later on.
I'll be the goose, eh?
Audience Appreciation Index. Robots of Sherwood ended with an 82, which I wish it would show the rating for the entire season so far in each of these posts, but it doesn't. I think that might have been tied with Into the Dalek, but I
And
have
then
to pull
two
up-
below, Deep Breath.
Okay, that's what I thought. You have it open, or you remember?
No, I'm remembering.
Okay, so that's what I thought it was. I just don't trust my memory.
No, my memory's backing up your memory.
Memory.
And then on to, that was our last bit of Robot of Sherwood information. We've got some Into the Dalek final ratings from the UK, which puts it at 7.29 million. That's I believe that's encores instead of only the initial, so that actually puts it right around, or at least close to what Deep Breath had for the first, for the premiere showing.
So what's happening now is that people are still watching Doctor Who even after the
They're
first
just not,
season.
yeah.
A lot
they're
more
just,
people are TiVoing it, essentially.
right,
Mhm.
or they're watching the reruns later on in the week, etc.
Which is not unusual. People are busy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Saturday night, you know.
Too.
It's Saturday night. People are out.
I'm not out.
Do things. This is how these things get done. They are done by people.
Yeah, I'm generally not at home on Saturday nights,
on
which is why
Saturday
we don't
night, I'm-
podcast Saturday night.
On Saturday night, I'm watching Doctor Who, Power Rangers, and if they're airing that time of year, Ninja Turtles and My Little Pony. And that's
I should
my
really watch a
Saturday
new
night.
Ninja Turtles show. It's on my to-do list.
Is it
I
good?
think
I keep hearing it's good.
Doctor Who Power Rangers.
There's a
That-
comma in there.
Let's not go there because that takes us back to Sentai Daleks.
Oh yes.
But I like Sentai Daleks. I want the green one.
That would have been.
They should have formed a bigger Dalek.
Well, wouldn't that be a Dalek
And then-
Emperor?
Well, and then it could take on the giant Cybermen.
Matt, you do the 8-bit
Cyber.
themes. You do the 8-bit themes. Can you do the Dragon Dagger as played by a Dalek?
The Dragon
Okay.
Dagger as played by a Dalek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the melody. It's just, oh my. That would take some digging.
You would
Put
have
that-
to take that. Actually, it shouldn't be
that's
that
for the
hard if you had a
modulator.
ringtone modulator.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And Deep Breath is still on the news because it just refuses to die. And that brings us to Canada, finally. It
Hey.
was previously announced that Deep Breath was the highest performing episode on the Canadian channel Space of 2014 so far. From what as far as I can tell, Space is their equivalent of sci-fi or something of that nature.
Probably done better than sci-fi.
Ziffy.
And
They're called sci-fi.
And the final numbers are in that Space confirms that Deep Breath drew an average of over 1 million viewers, giving the series its highest ever episode, or highest ever audience for a regular season episode. The second most watched Space broadcast ever, behind only The Day of the Doctor. It is the 4th ranked specialty airing this broadcast year to date for total viewers among all Canadian entertainment specialty channels.
Hmm.
No.
In other words, Doctor Who is taking Canada completely.
Yep, it's trying to trounce Canada, and it's working.
It's almost like it's popular or something.
because the doctor has a
Something.
craving for maple syrup.
Speaking of whether or not it's popular, we can talk about somewhere where Doctor Who is not popular, because I think Randy had some things to say about Doctor Who, about Japan getting a Series 5 DVD release.
I didn't know Japan had actually gotten as far as getting Series 5.
Well, I'm not sure if they got the series in between 2 and 5.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because I know they aired 1 and 2, and then it stopped because
Yeah,
Japan
I'm pretty sure they skipped directly to 5, but kind of makes sense considering 5 is where Doctor Who got more international appeal.
That's kind of weird and broken. But that looks like maybe they're trying again.
Is it wrong that I'm kind of picturing the 11th Hour as an anime right now?
Yeah.
Hey, there is Doctor
I would
Who
watch
anime
that.
out there if you search for it.
Somebody did do a Doctor Who anime on YouTube. That guy.
No, but yeah.
That guy and a group of others have been bought up to do some of the animated recreations.
That's that studio in Australia that we were talking about that might be moving to England.
That's
Mhm.
more an action reel than an actual anime.
Yeah, it is, but it's still called Doctor Who anime.
Yeah.
It's obvious that some people in Japan get it. I mean, there was that little Japanese-style Doctor Who clip that was out a while ago. It was even shown on one of the BBC America specials.
Yeah.
At least
Nice.
clips of it.
Yeah, the Sentai Doctor Who.
What
Yeah.
did they call the boss Dalek in that episode? I'm trying to remember now.
I
I
can't
forget.
remember. I'd have to watch
It mostly persisted of the name Dalek, though.
Just skit, if anything, yeah.
But anyway, for me, Japan was like the last bastion of Doctor Who ignorance in the world. Well, I mean, there might be some places in the Middle East, but there are some places in the Middle East that still think TV is a bad idea.
There are some places where Doctor Who episodes are more likely to be buried in the wilderness than actually people having televisions in their houses.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not regular watching in North Korea, because it's North Korea.
Quiet you.
And there's probably some places, like I said, in the Middle East, and Upper Mongolia, where they still go, Doctor Who, what's that? But of, first world civilized nations, Japan was the only one that, you would actually have to explain what Doctor Who is for them to get it. Any place else these days, you know who Doctor Who, even if they don't like it, they know what it is. Because it's become that much of a global phenomenon.
Just like this podcast will be one day.
One day. Shake fist.
But anyway, so seeing that they're trying again to get into Japanese culture, when I first heard that there was a Japanese version for season 1 and season 2, I was thrilled, because I was really hoping that they would take to it, that it would appear in their culture. The thing is, the Japanese really didn't know what to make of it. They didn't know, who it was being targeted for. And they didn't realize that it was basically being targeted for everybody. So it kept being put on Japanese programming at like 2 in the morning. So I'm kind of wondering how this DVD is going to actually come across.
I'm kind of wondering if they're even bothering to dub it, though, too.
They are because there's a list of dub actors.
Ah.
And I'm actually looking them up now. I'm showing that the
80s sounding Cyberman.
The guy who plays the Doctor was in a recent Gundam show. He played. I'm blanking on the name. Wataru in the Pokemon The Origin miniseries. Okay, and actually in the general Pokemon series he appeared as well. So probably more of a general children's thing. I'm not seeing any other standout roles.
Tokuyoshi Kawashima.
Anybody here fan of Naruto?
I used to watch it a lot, yeah.
So.
Do you know who Jibachi is?
I don't remember. It's been like years since I've actually sat down and watched it, though.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I didn't really follow voice
characters.
actors.
Well, if Shayna didn't get bored and wander off, I could ask her.
Just as the Japanese stuff popped in, she wanders off.
1 sec, I'll go grab her.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that I would be particularly familiar with him as.
Not familiar.
Unlike when they did the 10th Doctor, and my brain actually cooked because he was the same voice as Moose from That hurt my brain.
That hurt Mandy's brain pan for a bit, yes.
Because of course, my mental image of 10th Doctor with hidden weapons was and then I'm looking up the other person, Kana Uitaki, and I'm not seeing. She's done a few things, but nothing I'm familiar with. She's mostly known for the anime version of Tamagotchi.
Yeah, Tamagotchi apparently is still a thing in Japan. I recently found out about that myself.
I didn't know they made an anime.
Anime, man, they've got video games up the wazoo too.
It's Japan. They'll make an anime out of anything.
From what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like the people who are doing Rory and River are as prolific as the others. They seem to be fairly obscure, at least if IMDb is trustworthy.
Which sometimes it
checking.
is, sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything on those guys. So it looks like they've basically taken a low budget approach.
And they're gonna see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
They got a
Which
couple of
makes
names
sense,
in there for main
especially-
characters, but that's about it.
Especially if this is a direct-to-DVD production, I'm not shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my
They're
question
calling it
becomes,
Doctor Who New Generation is what they're calling it. So, yeah, they pretty much skipped from Series 2 to 5, and
Ouch.
this is a reboot.
So here's my question. If they get through to Series 6 and Series 7 and get to the 50th anniversary special, will they get the original voice actor back to do David Tennant for the
And Billy
anniversary?
Piper.
Yeah. That would be kind of cool. But we'll see.
We'll see. We'll probably have to see how their DVD sales go, which one assumes if there's enough of a following to do some of the stuff that we've seen coming out of them lately, there might be enough.
That was
Maybe.
a moving on segue, Matt.
But yeah. I'm just saying.
Yep. As for moving on, this is probably not the reason for it, but I'm going to consider this next DVD box set as Doctor Who's official "Sorry You're Having a Crappy Season" gift to Germany. They had their David Tennant die recently, and there was the recent news that they're not getting dubs for Series 8. They're getting subtitled episodes. German DVD distributor Pandastorm, which I had to say because of the name, is releasing a DVD box set of the 7th Doctor's first season.
So my question on this is, why don't we get classic Doctor Who in season box sets?
Because they hate us.
Apparently, instead we have to purchase
because they
every
know that
single
we'll buy it episode by episode,
serial by serial, and pay $20 to $30 per each one.
Yeah.
Or wait till it shows up on
The Boston
Netflix.
Tea Party.
Well, Hulu has actually Hulu has the largest amount of Doctor Who currently. If you're willing to put up with all the
Ads.
ads, and the only
is it Hulu or Hulu Plus?
Hulu Plus, sorry. The only thing I'm royally PO'd about that is that not all of them have subtitles yet. And for those of you who don't know, Shayna is 80% deaf, so she can bear. So I'm trying to show her like Resurrection of the Daleks, no subtitles. She's like, I can barely understand half the stuff that's going on.
Well, if you're willing to wait for that, Eric, when I do a run up to Arlington, I have that one on DVD.
Well, yeah, it's not just the it's not just that one. It's I'd like them to eventually get all of them with subtitles.
Most of the DVDs that are out have subtitles. Why Hulu's not doing it? Because they're cheap.
But again, I refuse to plop down $20 to $30 in an episode. I would do that for I would do 50 for a season, but that would be about it.
Yeah. Well, the big problem is Doctor Who has been the BBC worldwide cash cow.
They're going to milk it right now because it's making
and
the
they've
money.
been milking it ever since they took the American distribution rights back from Lionheart. It's why PBS in most places in the country stopped showing Doctor Who is because when BBC Worldwide took those rights from Lionheart, they jacked the price of each episode up gigantically so that PBS couldn't afford it.
That explains a lot. And that also would probably explain why it, after it left there, I mean, I remember it being on Sci-Fi Channel, on everywhere. It's like you almost never see classic series stuff aired anymore.
Sci-Fi Channel started showing Doctor Who back when it first aired. By the time it got to us in Wisconsin, they had stopped showing it.
It was like, I think...
No, they were showing it. I remember seeing it, but it was the same episode over and over again whenever I caught it.
Yeah, it was like every time I caught it, it was like when I was living down in Texas, back in like probably 92, 93, they were trying to show like the initial Fourth Doctor stuff, like Ark in Space and whatnot, by episode, but that was all I remembered in that.
Oh yeah, that's because BBC will only allow it to be shown episode by episode, at least BBC Worldwide.
Really?
Lionheart, if you remember, spliced all the episodes and turned them essentially into a movie.
Yep.
And when Worldwide took over, they got rid of all that nonsense.
I remember that because actually, in actuality, those episodes I saw in all the episodes my parents recorded were off of PBS back when they did their initial run.
When they air them on BBC America, they're doing it as a movie though.
No, yeah, they have breaks and they have commercials and end credits, Bill.
I don't remember there being...
They'll play it all in one long string, Bill, but they still have the end credits between episodes.
When they aired the Aztecs for the when they were doing the each Doctor special leading up to the 50th, I don't remember there being credits in between every 30 minutes.
I could have sworn I recalled them, but maybe that's just me.
Maybe you missed them. I don't know. Maybe Worldwide made a special exception for that. I don't know. I unfortunately did not have access to cable television at that time, so I didn't get to see the lead off to those.
Anywho, yeah, curse you, Germany.
Long story short, curse Germany.
You lucky bastards.
And lost the Germans.
I guess I better hang up.
The Americans have lost to the Germans.
I gotta say, I love how the DVD description is pimping it as Sylvester McCoy, Radagast from The Hobbit.
I'm in The Hobbit, don't you know?
You know what's funny? The only reason I even knew he was in The Hobbit was when I watched the Five-ish Doctor, and he basically kept talking.
I'm acting in the movie, don't you know?
You hadn't seen The Hobbit prior to that?
No, because one, I'd rather wait until all the episodes are released. And two, The Hobbit doesn't need to be put into 3 parts.
It depends. It depends upon how much of the extra stuff they're adding in, and they're adding in quite a bit of it.
That's the point, and that's my. I only watched the first one, and I was like, there was about 30 minutes of good Hobbit material in there, and then a whole bunch of padding that was probably from the Silmarillion.
I liked the first one. I couldn't stand the second one.
I liked the second one.
The first one was okay. The second one I thought was pretty good, and this third one's going to be awesome.
I haven't watched the second or third yet.
No, the second one just pissed me off because I was looking forward to one scene to a couple of scenes that they basically summed up in half an hour, and the rest of it was the Legolas show.
Okay, wait. Let me get this straight.
It's only how.
They split it up into 3 movies, and they still couldn't find enough time to fit in everything.
Was Legolas at least half naked?
No.
No.
So there was no actual.
Was it Feely or Keely?
Not to rush this, but we're almost halfway through our runtime, and we have a different Archer we're supposed to be talking about.
We haven't even started talking about the episode proper yet.
That, and I think now Ron has something he'd like to talk about.
Yes. So, a couple weeks ago, Bill mentioned in the news that Doctor Who Legacy, the app game, had done updates for Series 8. This had intrigued me because I actually hadn't known it existed prior to that. So, I figured I would give it a go in the last week, downloaded it to my Galaxy S4, and started playing. Now, initially I was a little bit concerned because I had played what had been jokingly called the Doctor Who MMO, which was basically a gigantic puzzle game that went nowhere and died a horrible, painful death, as far as I'm concerned.
A slow oozing death.
A
in fact.
well-deserved death.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was with that same feeling that I picked up the Legacy and started playing it. And then I began playing it. For once, it has actually a half-decent plot. Basically, the Sontarans have perfected time travel and are using it to try to turn the whole of history into one gigantic war. Because of this, of course, paradoxes are popping up, and it's up to the Doctor and his companions and his other selves to stop these paradoxes occurring and set time back on the proper course. This made for an interesting plot. The play style is similar to other games, such as Puzzle Quest, which is out for apps and for Xbox, PS4, etc. off their in-game store. Basically, they're all descendants of Bejeweled. But in this case, the jewels you match correspond to certain allies who can damage or hurt the enemies that show up in the boards. Once I realized this, I began descending on the game like a rabid Wolverine, stalking the village idiot.
Interesting metaphor.
I began playing, and I ate, I slept, I played, and every time I wasn't in the middle of anything else, I played, and I kept going and going and going and liking it more and more and more and more. And then I hit level 10, and it got worse. Then, previously, where it was quite easily to shoot through levels, the power curve between 10 to 20 is absolutely horrible. Enemies are now basically taking out half the life in one shot, and I have been improving my allies. Allies, you get companions through a rare percentage of going through a particular mission, which means you have to go through that same mission over and over and over again and grinding and grinding and grinding until your teeth hurt, until finally the monster drops the companion, who is level 1.
Yes.
Which means you now have to go back through the game again to level the companion to where he can be of any use to you.
He or she.
He or she, yes. There are 110 companions, last I looked, and 18 doctors. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
18 doctors.
14 doctors I can see. 15
maybe
if you include...
Is Peter Cushing in there?
Herndal,
No.
Some of the
Herndal,
doctors are
Cushing, Schalke,
tipping out.
Actually, Randy,
Big Finish Unbound.
Yes, but how many of that... This is an actual BBC fully licensed product. You start the application, you get the BBC logo like you do if you start a Doctor Who DVD.
Tipping out the doctors.
So I don't think they'd be including Big Finish Unbound doctors.
Well,
Peter Cushing they might have in there because that's technically a British movie series, which I wouldn't be surprised if the BBC owns rights to.
Randy, there is a bit. I actually play the game as well. A couple of things. For one, I think part of it is that it is different costumes that you can unlock for your doctors.
Those actually attach directly to that.
The other thing, what I'm trying to figure out is how do they have 18 doctors but not the 4th Doctor?
What?
They do not have that. Yep, they do not have. You cannot get the 4th Doctor yet.
I didn't realize that.
The hell?
I thought you said you got the 4th Doctor.
No, at the moment, my Doctor library consists of the 10th Doctor, the 11th Doctor, the 6th Doctor, and the 7th Doctor.
Yeah, mine's 11. Oh crap! I'm sorry, Snake got stuck, so I got distracted slightly. Let's see, 10, 11, 3, and 5.
Yeah, I noticed you could buy 5 from the store. And
Yeah.
this is actually something that does work in the game's favor. You can technically buy what you want from the store without spending a single dime.
It's
As you play through the game, you can get these crystals, which you can use to purchase unlocks from the store.
Yeah.
So you can still keep grinding and have fun, and then unlock stuff easily.
Yes.
According to TARDIS Data Core, the Fourth Doctor is one of the characters in the game. But it's not listing 18 Doctors though.
Well, as far as last time I looked on there, it was he's coming. It's kind of a coming soon type of thing. Him and the Fifth Doctor weren't in the initial launch. Yeah.
Odd.
That's what
well, the TARDIS Data Core is listing the 13 canon Doctors, but it's not listing anybody else as far as Doctors. There's a lot of companions listed.
I'm looking at the Ultimate Doctor pack right now, and I don't see fourth in the list. I see 9, 7, 6, 2, 11, 10, 8, 3, 1, and 9. So it's possible that it's just something that's a planned release that's not there. But either way, that is slightly annoying. The other annoying thing is that all the characters have to be upgraded to be used. Or not to be used, but to keep with the leveling of your characters. Once you get to, level 10, you have to upgrade them to get to 11, and the same at 20, 30, 40, etc.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that a lot of these, you have to get fragments, which the only way to get fragments is to, once again, grind missions. So again, you either spend money or you're grinding until your teeth hurt to get all the fragments you need to upgrade. The first upgrade from 10 to 20 is not bad. The 20 to 31 requires something in the vicinity of 18 to 20 fragments. Up to 6 of individual types, which makes some of which you have not even seen yet. This makes this exceedingly annoying. So, I guess in conclusion, if you don't mind grinding until your teeth hurt on your phone, wearing a hole in the screen to do so, then this is probably the game for you.
Do you know? It's apparently both mobile and Facebook. Do you know if they sync together? Can you access it on Facebook and then play on your phone? And
I'm looking for it on Facebook. Normally something online like that would be synced together, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
I believe it is. I know I had to sign into Facebook and Google Plus in order to start getting achievements on the game.
Really? I only had to
Oh, no, never mind.
I only had to sign into Google to get anything. Then again, but yeah, there was one other thing you probably didn't mention. I'm guessing you didn't actually spend any money on the game.
No, I have not.
Yeah, you spend $5 on it. You get into this fan area. I spent money, and I actually feel like I wasted it when I got curious about that fan area of the game. I think the crystals were on sale at the point, but still, it was it was like the crystals were on sale for like $350 or so. And I will tell you, it was probably the worst $350 I ever spent. Pretty much $350.
No,
$350. Okay.
By the way, you're talking about the likelihood of big Finnish doctors and such appearing. Well, at the very least, we can confirm. I'm showing that Charlie, Kariz, Lucy, Tamsin, Molly, and Frobisher have all been seen in the game.
And all were mentioned in Night of the Doctor.
There was one. What really brought me into the game was the fact that you can get classic companions for it, including the Brigadier and Ace.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also really like the fact that they threw in Frobisher. Frobisher has to be one of the official, unofficial companions that I like the most.
Is Frobisher the same changing penguin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm still scratching my head on why.
It's also worth noting that Frobisher is also the name of Peter Capaldi's previous Doctor Who appearance, not count or the one after Pompeii.
The one in Torchwood. Yeah.
You get companions like Frobisher, and you sit here wondering why why is every companion that the Doctor has in the new series always
a white chick, a skinny white chick from modern day London.
Martha's not a white chick.
Well,
Actually,
Ha!
white chick from modern day London.
Mickey's not a white chick.
If I were allowed to write a New Who episode, there would probably be an Edwardian scientist and an alien woman as the new companion.
And it's not from Earth, for fuck's sake.
At least.
I mean, I know we're gonna be getting somebody who's not a white chick, finally, but they're still from modern day England.
I mean, come on.
London.
At least.
The reason the majority of the companions are from modern day England is they work as the viewer vehicle for the show. They want somebody that the viewers can relate to.
Yeah, they need a proxy.
That was Ian and Barbara in the original 63. It was every It's really been more 90% of the companions since.
Except for the Second Doctor era as a notable exception, and parts of the Fourth Doctor era as well.
Like Jamie and Zoe, or I don't know, or like Leela, who honestly.
Jamie, Zoe, Victoria, Leela, Romana are all examples of people who do not fit that mold.
Turlo, though he was
Turlo,
modern day.
Turlo, although he was trapped in modern day England for quite a while, but he managed to escape.
Adric, even though there are modern day human characters that act quite Adric-like.
Mm-hmm.
He was Adric. He was the Wesley before Star Trek Next Generation.
Yup.
Anyway.
Yep.
As I was going to finish this up so we could actually get to talk about the episode.
Sorry.
If you are fond of games where you have to grind, this probably will do it for you. If you're fond of puzzle games, you're probably not going to mind it this much. If you're a massive Doctor Who fan, if you're listening to this, you probably are. You'll probably play this just because of the need to collect them all.
Gotta collect all my doctors.
However, for the casual player, I think the repetitive gameplay would be a distraction. Would be a detraction from it instead of a full-on benefit. The ability to be able to play without spending a dime is, however, a benefit. I think if I had to rate this app out of 5, I think this would probably be about a 3.
Yeah, it could be better, but it could also be a lot worse.
It definitely beats the MMO.
Oh yeah, this sounds like it definitely beats the MMO. Especially if the actual puzzle gaming is actually fun, unlike the previous game.
It's your simple connect the jewel, but you can actually drag the jewel across the screen. You just have a limited time in which to do it.
And there are special skills that that each character can use.
Yes, I'm currently playing on a team that includes such wonderful characters as Clara, the medic, the punishment medic from Nightmare in Silver. The punishment soldier from Nightmare in Silver, the annoying little girl from Nightmare in Silver, and River Song.
Facepalm.
I was rather surprised to note that River Song's power wasn't use power, beat game. However, I did just realize her power is to use to take the blue crystals, which is what the 11th Doctor uses to do stuff, and turn them into red crystals, which is what she uses to do stuff. So, still semi-accurate to the show.
She takes all the Doctor's power and makes it her own.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get an idea of how unique you can get your character, mine consists of the 6th Doctor, Rory, Rory's dad, the annoying kid from Nightmare in Silver, River Song, and an adipose.
Yes, I have one of those too.
Dies all the time.
Which color adipose? Because apparently there's adipose of every color in the game.
I got a yellow one. Considering
yeah, that's the one I have too.
So you're playing with that and someone who dies all the time.
Pretty
All
much,
right.
yes.
He
So
dies
I
sometimes, so
pretty
he
much
comes
sums
back.
up the game. I think then we should probably get onward to discussing the actual episode.
Yes, we've got about 55 minutes remaining.
So,
So, the actual episode then.
All right. So, anybody volunteer to do the summary?
It was
Anybody?
Doctor Who with Robin Hood. Need I say more?
That's not a summary. That's a statement. We have to summarize the plot.
okay, I can kind of do this. Clara wants to go into magical bookland. Doctor doesn't want to. It ends up being magical bookland, but with a twist. And strangely perfect Robin Hood, who isn't a robot.
Okay, that's a little short, but
It's very short, but it's to the point.
Yeah, short and sweet.
And also there's robots. There are actual robots, and they apparently crash landed in London, near Sherwood.
You know, I was really actually hoping that this would be a pure that they would actually do a pure historical. Just part of me was hoping there would be a pure historical.
It got close.
See, well, here the thing is, it's one of those situations where if you see Mark Gatiss is writing it, I think every single episode that he's written for New Who has been a pseudo-historical, most of them featuring a historical celebrity. So I pretty much assumed that this episode would be the same.
I don't know. I remember reading the leaked script for this episode and reading Gaddis's description of Robin Hood in that, and I'm like, oh no, this is going to be Errol Flynn Robin Hood. I was literally expecting the first time we saw Robin Hood for him to smile and to have the Retson glint go off when he smiled.
Well, it was close.
Keep in mind, when I say pure historical, I meant as in that a historical without any actual, like...
Sci-fi,
Right.
yeah.
I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, we have.
We kind of figured that that's
in,
going to happen
over
because it
30
hasn't happened in a
years.
very long time.
I know, but a guy can dream.
We're overdue.
I can dream. What can I say? So, but yeah, otherwise, I mean, it was definitely, his writing was definitely a breath of fresh air after two Moffats.
Into the Dalek wasn't Moffat.
Oh, really?
Nope.
It was.
Only
I'm
little
trying to
touches
remember
by
his
Moffat.
I'm trying to remember his name, but he mainly is known for Sarah Jane Adventures and Wizards vs. Aliens.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either at the moment. It escapes me.
That was the guy that did the Dalek one.
Yeah.
Phil Ford.
There we go, Phil Ford.
Still, the last one was kind of forgettable. The only part you remember is there's a Dalek. Malfunction.
So, when I read the script for this, I was sitting here going, "Oh my God, I'm going to hate this episode so much." Of the first 5 scripts, because it was 5 scripts that was leaked, I think this one was number 3 on my list. The only 2 I hated worse were the 2 Moffats. And my dislike for Moffat's writing is on record.
Way on record. We have hours of it. And our
Anyway.
disdain for it too.
So it probably went without saying that the Moffats were going to rate the lowest. Another one that I liked as my second favorite was the Phil Ford one, and I actually did like that better than I liked the Moffat. But actually, in retrospect, this one I think might actually be on par with that.
I'm kind of thinking that too myself.
I was actually very much improved at the fact that at least Robin Hood looked slightly scruffy looking.
Slightly.
Who you calling scruffy looking?
His hair was a bit unkempt.
Yes. I thought he was going to have, the perfect hair, clean shaven,
Yeah,
glint
I know
when
what
he
you mean.
smiled.
He was a very much a modern version
So I was
take
reading
of Errol
this,
Flynn.
and I was groaning through most of this, especially the scene where he takes the knife to the tapestry and slides down it, a la Captain
Aw.
Blood.
But I love that one.
I love that! Again, I take this as a more modern era Flynn, and I enjoyed every moment of it.
It was a more realistic Flynn, which is why I could stand it.
Mm-hmm.
A nice cross between the two.
I thought it was going to go total Flynn.
No, they couldn't get away with that these days.
So you thought it was going to go in like Flynn?
Another bit of contention that has come up over the past week of the review panel is the Sheriff of Nottingham.
He looked very masterish.
Yeah.
I have seen one description that someone claimed that it looks like they resurrected Anthony Ainley to play the bad guy, but what is Ben Miller an anagram of?
Yeah, but he didn't look like Ainley. He looked like Jonathan Pryce. If you don't remember who Jonathan Pryce is, think Curse of Fatal Death Master.
Yeah.
Oh, that, yes.
A bit,
Didn't have any bumps.
What? Minus the bumps.
No. Oops, they're Dalek receivers.
But no, if you take that first scene where the Sheriff of Nottingham shows up, and then play Curse of Fatal Death, you'll notice I swear they used the same costume beard.
That might be true.
Kinda.
They just found it lying in a box somewhere.
Everyone's, hey Moffat, remember this? Ooh.
I mean, he looks like a slightly young. I was sitting here watching this. I had the issue where I went to record this off of BBC America, and BBC America, for some reason, my DVR only decided to record the first minute. I was not happy about that and wound up having to actually grab a copy, since BBC America was in the middle of a James Bond marathon at the time.
Yeah, I had that same problem.
I, on the other hand, got to watch the whole episode in a rerun before the Bond marathon started.
I looked for a rerun, but I never saw one.
I had to grab a torrent of it and watched it, and I'm sitting here at 3 in the morning. She's asleep in bed. I have the sound on as low as I can, looking at him and basically pulling a Slappy Squirrel from Animaniacs, going, "You remind me of a very young Jonathan Pryce." Pretty much the entire time.
It remind me of a very young yippee yappy yahoo walking off.
But I do like the fact that they did actually mention why it was so green, as opposed to, this is Nottinghamshire, which is north. It's in the north.
Yeah, it's because of the radiation from the crashed ship.
Mm-hmm. And, that's the thing, is that, it's always in the north, and England is not the most green place in the world.
Nope.
Mostly because of the amount it rains.
Which is odd, because you'd think the rain would help.
Except the fact that there's not enough sun.
Yeah.
True.
And,
also because it was nearing fall season, it looked more like spring. Like mid-spring.
Yes. But, to give you... does anybody here actually know where Nottingham is?
Not off the top of my head.
I'm guessing it's in England.
That's obvious.
It's wherever anthropomorphic foxes and lions and bears live.
Smack!
Oh.
For references like this for the rest of the act, folks.
I think it's south of London.
No, it is not south of London.
Very north.
Oh, okay, then I'm completely ignorant.
It's north of Wales.
London is almost as south as you can go, with the exception of about a 50-mile stretch.
And Wales.
Wales is west.
Oh.
I mean, technically, I think Cornwall is south. but I could be wrong there. At least a part of Cornwall, anyway.
We sit here trying to figure it out, and we're like, wait, we have internet. Can't we just...
I'm looking it up. My problem is...
I'm looking it up right now myself.
I have so many windows open from the news that it's slowing my computer down.
Zooming out, it's practically the middle of the United Kingdom.
So, almost then on the Scottish border. I'm still trying to zoom out. It's still not giving me the rest of the map.
It's definitely north of England. It's north and a little bit east.
Yep, it's northern centrish area.
It's northeast of Birmingham and southeast of Manchester. That's south of Doncaster.
It's near Derby.
North of Leicester. So, yeah.
Just a little ways south of Leafield. Sure.
Yeah, it's basically between Birmingham and Manchester. So, yeah, southeast of Liverpool. It's up in that area of the country.
Yeah, it's about even with the middle of Ireland, which is already a cold place. So it's not getting any warmer. It's further north than Wisconsin, let's put it that way.
Yes.
Wow.
Freaking cold!
I didn't think that was possible.
It's on the same parallel as Canada.
Yes.
You would not think of Canada to be a particularly green place except for maybe 2 months a year.
Pretty much. Canada in summer. Look, it's melting.
You look at every single story about Robin Hood.
It should not be green and happy.
It's always in this beautiful green forest.
It's definitely always in a forest.
Yes.
Depending upon the depiction, it'll be green and sometimes less green.
It always seems to be summer in every single every single version of Robin Hood that I've seen. You never hear about Robin having to suffer through the winter.
But yeah, this is like Canada, almost, I'd say, first quarter of Canada high. So that's pretty darn freaking cold.
I love the fact, like I said, that it actually explains why that would work.
Mm-hmm.
It basically takes one of the biggest holes in the Robin Hood story and explains it away.
What was the explanation? The crash?
The crash is leaking radiation.
From the ship
Okay.
was creating a kind of a local greenhouse effect.
Hence keeping it unusually warm.
An unseasonably warm year.
Mm-hmm. I found the Isle of Man. Can I find the Isle of Wight? Sorry, go on.
Matt's going to be preoccupied for the rest of it, now trying to figure out where things are in England.
So that's where Scotland is.
Hey.
You didn't know where Scotland is?
Well, I kind of had an idea, but...
They're all pretty close together there, Sonny.
I never really bothered to look it up. Also didn't realize there were so many mountains there either.
You'd not know why it was called the Highlands, laddie.
It's called Highlands for a reason. They're freaking high.
Okay.
And not because of the weed.
So, once again, we're seeing a plot here where a spaceship has crashed in England.
Dun dun dun.
And is trying to find a way of fixing itself. We're basically watching episode 1 again, aren't we?
Well,
with a different time period.
The robots were on their way to the promised land.
Oh yeah, and the robots are on the way to the promised land, so that ties in too.
And I should point out that, well, not just robots. Deep Breath featured a backwards cyborg, but a cyborg. This episode features a cyborg. And you know what our finale is about, don't you?
The
Cybermen.
finale. What?
Cybermen.
Like,
In other words, more cyborgs. Probably looking for the promised land.
so it's obviously going to be a robot-heavy season.
Actually, I just realized I don't think we saw Missy in this episode.
No, we
I
did
think
No, we
that was a
didn't.
cut.
It?
I think she
This
was.
would be the
she
first
was in the
time.
script. She was in the script, wasn't she?
I don't remember her in the script. No.
Which reminds me, I think I had asked you guys, but I don't think anyone had actually discussed it. Does anyone remember if Gretchen had any cybernetic qualities? I think she's the one that ran into Missy in the previous episode. Like, did she have any prosthetics, implants,
Not that we were
nanogenes,
aware
anything
of.
of that nature?
Nothing I'm familiar with. No, it
I'm-
doesn't mean she didn't. But there was
Yeah,
nothing that was really shown in the plot.
I'm starting to think the Promised Land and the Missy character are all related to some sort of cyborg plot going on.
Do you think Missy might be the new Cyber Queen?
That would be interesting.
Would be interesting.
Or someone. I mean, I'm more even just thinking someone that's attracting cyborgs from space and time into one place, trying to build some sort of force.
I don't know. It's possible, but you might be reading too much into it.
Possible
Maybe.
too.
We'll have to look and we'll have to
All
wait
I know
and
is-
see. On that.
We'll have to keep our eyes peeled.
2 times makes a coincidence. Add in the Cybermen, that's 3 times. That's a pattern.
Yeah, but we haven't really seen what the Cybermen's involved in how they're involved in the finale.
Yeah,
yet.
Yeah.
They're either causing it or they're dessert.
Or responding.
Right.
We'll have to wait. On that, I'm not ready to point that out yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got the Merry Men. What'd you all think of the Merry Men?
I thought they did pretty good for the little
I thought
roles they
it was
had.
We don't really see much of them.
No.
You don't see much of them, but you definitely
That's
see the
another
ones
thing
you
I think-
expect to see.
And that's another thing where I mentioned that I think this episode ran over time. There were more scenes of the Merry Men, specifically Alan Adale. I remember having more scenes in the script that must have been cut for time.
Possibly.
You mean Mr. 6 months?
Yes, because he had, I think, at least 3 small musical sequences in the script. I think he only had 1 in the actual aired version.
Actually, he technically had 2. Although the second one, they definitely tried to stop him.
I don't know. Maybe the third was part of that same scene.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Anyway, so the Doctor was quite the grouch through most of this.
Well, he believes the Robin Hood thing to be nothing but pure legend, so what do you expect?
Which is kind of interesting because the Doctor has been known before to say that pretty much all of fiction was true.
Yeah, this was kind of a reversal of his normal bit. And
I would also
you know,
argue that we're still channeling the first Doctor pretty heavily here, so...
Yes. And,
I
you know,
don't see that as quite out of character, to be honest, at the moment.
Yeah, the problem is you can only channel the first Doctor to an extent. When you realize a good thing of the first Doctor's crotchety was the fact that he didn't actually, have as much knowledge other than what he learned at the Academy to draw off of.
Right.
Whereas, this Doctor is over, almost 2,000 years older than him and has seen quite a bit. And the portrayal of him as being this new doubting Thomas is really kind of, basically throwing all that out the window.
Well,
To a
this is
degree.
the first part of his new cycle, so maybe he's like going back to square one.
So that means he's forgotten everything he's ever learned?
Not everything, he's
Well,
just
maybe he's not forgotten.
being
maybe
very
he's
cautious.
acting like he's forgotten.
There's that too.
I thought the 11th Doctor was the Doctor who forgets.
Well, this is the Doctor who forgets more. Remember, we're going on the senility clause.
We're also going on the fact that he's still kind of fresh off his regeneration, too. Not
Yeah,
fresh,
well,
but he's still got
that
leg.
that was fine dealing with that and into the Dalek. But
Yeah.
we're now in his third thing. He should be a little more stable now. Otherwise, we really are in a Sixth Doctor scenario, and that's going to make my teeth hurt.
Oh.
I would still say that even for the Doubting Thomas stuff that he's got going on, he also has a little bit of Third Doctor going on this episode.
Somewhat.
Spoon fight.
The interplay,
Except
I must admit, I did like...
The third Doctor never had to program his weapon to fight for him.
At the same time, I did like the interplay between Robin Hood and the Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
I would have preferred it more along the lines of, you know, the old saying, you shouldn't meet your heroes. If they had made it so that even the Doctor was eager to find out, and, you know, when he found out...
He became kind
Clash of the Egos.
Right. Yeah. Well, Clash of the Egos, but also very doubtful because he thinks something's up.
If this was a 10th Doctor episode, that's what we would have gotten.
Yeah, that I would have liked a little more. But instead we're getting the Doubting Thomas, which I'm not quite buying.
Yeah,
like
I think
I said.
it almost seems like he's being contrary for the sake of being contrary.
But at the same time, you look at this Robin Hood, though, too, and he does still look a little too perfect.
He does. It is an issue. It's better than I thought it would be.
It's definitely not as
They should have
cheese.
said the radiation from the crash was killing the bacteria that would normally be rotting someone's teeth in his position.
No,
The
it's
doctor
just that he was a
mentioned that
noble
his teeth
born,
were
and
too
which is
perfect.
why he's more well kept than most other men his age.
I was under the impression that noble-borns in this era also had rotting teeth.
So.
Dentistry had not been invented yet.
Not to mention, did they ever
Neither
say
had
if he was
Colgate.
in the wars at the time? In this
What's
version? Did they ever say if he was in the Crusades at this time?
He was supposed to have been. He came back early.
Well, that's what some of the other versions have said, but I don't think they directly said in this one.
No, they never stated it directly. They did mention that King Richard was in the Crusades, which was, when it was supposed to happen.
Yep.
They mentioned that King John was in power, which was,
A part of the time.
yeah. And that the sheriff was essentially a,
Rotten right hand.
a flunky of King John. Although this one definitely had, plans.
Oh, yeah. That's also another thing I liked about this sheriff. He was not an imbecile. He had plans of his own.
Normally, yeah, when they have Robin Hood, anything Robin Hood, it's King John is the main villain, where the sheriff is the right-hand generally ineffectual.
It generally starts with the sheriff being the main villain, but he gets demoted to flunky when King John comes on the scene. It's kind of like in Blazing Saddles, if you have the men and then you have Taggart, Taggart seems as competent, but when you have Taggart and then you have Headley, Taggart is immediately reduced to an imbecile.
Yeah. And King John was never actually seen in this, I don't recall.
Nope.
He was only mentioned.
Only mentioned. And mostly mentioned the fact that the sheriff was not happy with him, which is why he was also siding with the robots for rebellion. His own takeover.
He needed to take over the world, and I expected M. Bison to pop up in the corner of the episode.
Of course.
Of course!
Yeah, it was,
Speaking of cliches, that the Doctor used the term "opiate of the masses."
yes, he
I
does.
didn't know what to feel about that.
It probably should have been something that everybody should have looked at him funny.
Well, is it a cliche to quote Karl Marx?
It is if you're quoting Karl Marx in the freaking, what was it, 12th century?
True.
But not at this particular time. People have looked at him and tilted their head sideways going, opium, what?
Yeah.
What's an opium?
What's opium?
Come to think of it, had the Europeans heard of opiates at the time?
I don't think so.
What?
I mean, I don't know if poppies were even known yet.
Right.
In Western medicine, anyway.
Well, the Crusades are going on, so it might actually start to be spreading at this point.
They would have heard of poppy. I don't think they would have heard of opium.
Which could have been a pretty cool, reference to the Middle Eastern conflict at that time, if that's what he was trying to go for by mentioning opiates.
I think when he said it, though, everybody
that was entirely a Marxist reference.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of...
Which all the more makes me feel like the Doctor's being contrary for the sake of being contrary, which leads itself back into Randy's idea that they're just pretty much sixth doctoring him.
Yeah.
He's a jackass for the sake of being a jackass, not because he doesn't know any better.
No. We'll just have to wait and see if he starts ramping up the violence because.
At least he hasn't tried to strangle Clara yet.
Well, that would get her off the show pretty quick, I would think.
Yeah. Let's see. We don't care how unpopular your companion is, you're not allowed to strangle her.
Although you could have the Sixth Doctor actually guest appear again and try to shoot her and see if that works. Hey, that's how he took over.
You know, at least there are certain Moffatisms that haven't come to be. We know Danny Pink's a little weird for apparently shot somebody. If this had been one of Moffat's older things, he would be upset because he was the man that shot the Doctor.
Yes.
Oh.
Be like, so what's your story? Well, I shot an old Scottish man.
Well, he came out of this thing called police box that just materialized around this kid. So we just shot him.
You know, it's we haven't seen that yet, so I'm happy there.
The Doctor does have a history of opening the TARDIS door and walking into gunfire. Especially when he's Scottish.
Yes!
Oh, God. Because apparently Scots don't check the door first.
So that means that when the 12th Doctor here eventually does regenerate, he's going to need a wig, right?
He's going to be surrounded by clocks.
He's already surrounded by clocks. Have you seen the opening?
Look at the opening.
The opening doesn't count. I mean the actual inside of the TARDIS.
I still maintain that the opening is from he was sitting in the clock room from the TV movie and the TARDIS crashed. And what we're seeing is the Doctor's point of view as the clocks cascade around him. Or he crashes.
But we ruined a good set.
I don't know. Every now and then I watch that opening and I'm tempted to start going, the bells! The bells! Because it looks like a clock tower.
Another thing I did like about this, the Doctor did not need to use his could not use his magic wand, sonic screwdriver this episode.
Yes, they did actually make a point to that.
Yes, and that it was also that it was a magic wand.
Yes.
He actually called it out, yes.
Forgive me, but this was the original reason why the sonic screwdriver was destroyed in the first place.
Yeah, okay. It's actually, a matter of fact, the modern Who's been abusing it even more than classic Who ever did.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes before we have to get into final thoughts. I think it's time that we all address the elephant in the room, the finale.
Yes.
The finale.
You brought this up to me earlier. But...
Just me, or is this insanely stupid?
It's not just you.
It's not just you. There are some major mental flaws with this ending, to be honest. And it's mostly on the side of the robots.
Okay, so we learn over the course of the episode that they're basically swiping all the gold to melt into these circuit patterns in which they're using to replace the engine.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor is not happy because there's not enough gold, and basically all they're making at this point is a giant bomb. So we get to the ending, he starts the emergency takeoff, the Doctor mentions there's not enough gold.
Some days you just can't get rid of a giant bomb.
And then says, okay, that'll work, has them shoot the golden arrow, which hits the side of the ship, and suddenly they have enough gold to,
Yeah, that also makes absolutely no sense. If they would have showed us what actually happened to the arrow, and if it actually landed somewhere where they could actually use it, then by all means go ahead. But they do not show that detail.
That.
It looks like it just hits the ship and then suddenly it's got power.
Who in the right mind puts the engine on the outside of the...
That too.
Well, see, it was a small thermal exhaust port that's not protected from small one-man
It's not even that, because it wasn't used to blow up the ship. He didn't even shoot it into a port. If he had shot it into a window, into the vat, which they had been melting gold to turn into stuff, maybe.
Well, wait, this
even with that, there wouldn't be enough time. What?
This is the show that turned gold dust clogging respirators into chuck a gold coin at them and they die.
I still find that reprehensible.
Doctor Who logic when it comes to gold has never been its strong suit.
Still,
in modern Who at
with
least.
that, you shot an arrow into the armor-plated side of the ship. You shot an arrow into battleship armor.
Shoot arrow into ship. Step 2. Step 3, profit?
There is nothing.
Well, wait,
here.
no, that's not true. He shot it, wasn't it, at a big target symbol? So obviously that makes all the difference.
It was a big steel plate, Bill.
There was no target symbol. There was nothing to guide him as to what he should be shooting that arrow at, other than the fact that it needs to hit his ship.
Yes.
And the fact that just randomly hitting the ship somehow made it more power? Bullshit.
Yes.
And it's going on about how there's not enough gold, but this one arrow, that'll make it enough.
Yeah.
And the fact
this one arrow that the robots obviously thought was unimportant enough to use as bait for a trap.
Yeah. That made no sense to me either.
But in all reality, this how it should have ended was they fire it in there and the ship explodes.
The problem is they didn't want it to just blow up in the atmosphere because of the radiation, would do nasty shit, yada yada yada.
Well, at least that close to in the atmosphere, yes.
For all intents and purposes, it should that one gold arrow should not have been really
enough to do much of anything. Yeah.
No, it makes no sense at all. It is one major drawback to this episode.
And
here's is completely and totally hokum.
And here's the other thing. This thing is being run by robots. The robots should be smart enough to know exactly what their craft is going to be doing. Why would they try to even fly when they know the thing's just going to blow up in the sky anyways? Because obviously they don't have enough power.
because
Obviously.
Reasons.
Are the robots really that dumb?
Yes.
They're just not really very smart robots.
There are robots this season that are part of the same group of robots that think that they can fix their ship by taking the people that are staffing it and making them into parts of the ship, and therefore making the ship empty and pointless.
Well, that's just pandering Moffat's grafting human party parts onto robots fetish.
Yeah.
And we've been seeing that for seasons now.
Yeah, but these robots are the dumbest fucking brick-headed idiots I've ever seen for robots.
We're particularly that intelligent.
Yet they're running the ship.
Hold it.
That probably explains why they picked the first guy that walked up to them to be their leader.
Yes, remember, they took the Sheriff of Nottingham, who was a normal human, and basically robo-converted him. And he's the one that's dealing with all this, and it's his brain that's making these calculations as we'll have enough gold. I think the robots themselves are no better than the clockwork androids that we've seen in Girl in the Fireplace.
I still say that the robots should have been smarter than that. They should have been.
Not if they're programmed to be not that smart.
They're the ones running the ship. They should know better.
They haven't been.
Nobody told the robots to be engineers.
They haven't been to Starfleet Academy.
They have this thing called logic. You'd think they'd have be able to logically look at it, and be like, okay, we need, and see we need X amount of gold. We don't have X amount of gold. Screw it, let's launch anyway.
Again, like I said, I think it was the sheriff that was behind the launch.
If it was, then they should have described it better.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem that much that way to me.
It was part. I'm not saying that this was a wonderful piece of writing, because it wasn't.
However, I will say
it was hokey, and there was obviously probably more cut even before it got to that script stage that we got.
Yeah.
That should not have been cut. More exposition. If you realize that when Moffat looks to cut something from an episode, the first thing he cuts is the exposition.
Which is funny. One of the best things he does is exposition when he's writing.
Yes.
That's things that people have praised him for in the past, is that because he does exposition very well.
I swear it's like they're handing the script to Jeremy Clarkson. Nope, cut that. No action there. No action there. We'll cut that.
Actually, I guess I should ask. Did the ending make any more sense in the script that you read, Randy?
No.
Nope.
It made just about as much sense. Okay.
It made me not really. I remember reading that ending and going, why? Why was this supposed to work?
But I will say, outside of the fault with the robots and the starship, the ending with the sheriff and Robin is actually a pretty good ending.
Yes. Yes. If the story had been if they had cut the robot part out of this story and dealt entirely with the sheriff and Robin, actually making it a historical drama,
this would have been perfect.
It would have been much better.
I would have loved it.
Yeah.
This would have actually probably almost garnered a 5 on me if they completely cut out the robots.
Yes, because they were completely superfluous to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
All it did was add a sci-fi element to it that didn't need to be there.
Again,
actually, come to think of it, we could have. This has actually. I mean, if obviously the title proves it never could be, but this really is an episode where if they had just made it a straight up historical action drama, it would have worked and would not have driven the fans away.
Correct.
Exactly.
Obviously, if they'd done that, it would have needed a different title.
Right.
Well, yeah.
You mean
even though the theme of this season is robots.
Doesn't matter what the theme of the season is. There's still offshoot episodes, and this could have been a really good offshoot episode.
Yeah. And it would have been the first true historical drama in forever.
In 33 years.
31 years, yeah.
Yep.
I think they really missed an opportunity.
They really did.
Yeah.
They could have made this almost perfect.
Speaking of missed opportunities, because I was trying before I lose the chance to mention this. There was one thing that I was able to overlook in this episode because it was generally enjoyable, but it's something that is a noticeable flaw, and it's something that has gotten on my nerves, not because it was such a terrible, obvious thing, but because people keep acting like it's excusable and something that could not have been fixed. There are 2 female characters in this episode. One of them is the main character of the show. The other one is a prop that is given as a gift from one man to another after spending the rest of the episode as a damsel in distress.
Oh.
It would not have taken more than 15 minutes of writing and 3 or 4 minutes on screen to fix that problem. So please, that does not ruin the episode on its own, but it really pisses me off when people act like Marion could not have been made into a character.
If they would have cut the robots, they could have added her in easily.
Cut 3 minutes of the Doctor and Robin arguing in the prison, add in a dialogue scene between Clara and Marion.
Yes, but I loved those 3 minutes of the Doctor and Robin arguing in the prison.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was, but like, most of that was good, but as people have mentioned, it is a large chunk of the episode and could have been a bit shorter without being a problem.
I still say if we just would have eliminated the robots, that would have made up for all the time we needed to get her involved and better
That
written.
probably would have been sufficient on its own, yes. Or made less robots.
Oh, yeah, okay. Before we go to final thoughts, I do have one more thing I've been meaning to talk about, too. The title. When we first heard of this episode, it was called Robots of Sherwood, plural.
And then they suddenly turned it to robot.
And then, within the last month, they singulared it to Robots.
I think it was Robots in Sherwood became Robot of Sherwood.
And obviously there's more than one robot here.
They're making the sheriff into the Robot of Sherwood.
Except for the fact that he has a whole bunch of robot flunkies.
Yes, but they're not from Sherwood. Those robots are not of Sherwood, they're in Sherwood.
I would have preferred the original title, it makes more sense.
Yes.
I agree.
And on that bombshell, we'll go to final thoughts.
Kaboom, kaboom!
Robot of Sherwood.
Okay. So, I do final thoughts in the order in which people are in my Skype window. Which means, Eric, Shayna, you two are up first.
Well, I would love to. Well, Shayna would love to do her thoughts, but she has, again, got bored and wandered off. So.
So, at least your thoughts, Eric.
My thoughts. I actually did like the episode. I mean, outside of. I mean,
the flaws we mentioned.
I guess I was. I wasn't. I'm glad I'm not in the minority that agreeing that this should have been a historical episode. I mean, but apparently I am in the minority that of disliking the first two in this season. But oh well.
We disliked the first. We liked the second one better.
Yeah, I'm in the minority that I actually disliked.
For the record, and I'm hoping we have a chance to rate these in order, but that depends on time in the episode. But our average for Deep Breath was 3 across the board with no deviation. Our average for Into the Dalek was like a 3.4 something with a little bit of deviation. I think I might have been.
I thought most of us were 4.
No, maybe it was like a 3.9.
Yeah, I think it was a 3.9.
I gave it a 3.5.
Most of us were 4 except you, Bill.
Yeah.
I know I've actually watched it between what Randy was talking to me about earlier this week, as well as watching another reviewer. I was starting to think that I was the only one that pretty much did not like Into the Dalek, but oh well. I mean,
no, we just don't think it was perfect by any means, but it was definitely more enjoyable than the first episode.
Yeah, enjoyable, yes.
So, mind you, Eric, my review gives it bonus points because it did not involve Jenny or Vastra, Jenny, or Strax, and then double bonus points for not having River's song.
If you'd like, what are your ratings out of 5 for the first 2 episodes of this season?
Deep Breath, at least I would have definitely stuck with a 3 out of 5, just because it was enjoyable but bland. Into the Dalek, I actually want to give it more a 2.
Ouch.
Yeah, I liked the concept. I liked where they're going, but I felt like they could have they could have done a lot more, especially the fact that Clara was at one point a Dalek in a previous life. I mean, I would have thought
that's true too.
Would have been a little more interesting if she'd have, brought along that knowledge. Like, oh, yeah, I remember this when I was helping the doctor out. Oh, yeah, they have antibodies, don't they? We should run, shouldn't we? And also, it took a lot from like Resurrection of the Daleks, like the passing mention of like the clones that went nowhere, the final fight scene that I swear was really it was cliche and pretty much one-sided. Like, oh, Daleks versus humans, who's gonna win? Nah, Daleks. Until the Doctor shows up, of course. Although of course the final, I will admit the final part where it turned out that the Dalek was going to be did turn into a did end up being reverted back to a good Dalek with you can't see it, but I'm using quotations. That did actually intrigue me, and I hope it actually comes back later in the later on in the season.
A lot of people are actually kind of hoping for that too. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we actually see something with a good Dalek. Oh yeah, the other reason I rated it so low was because of the one of the trailers for the for the season had all the lines that were from Into the Dalek, and I was so hoping it was going to be Davros.
Oh, so was I.
I knew it was not Eric because that was Nick Briggs' voice.
Yeah,
and Nick Briggs does not do Davros. It's Julian something or other.
Although they could put a fast one on us, but yeah.
I was so hoping, and honestly that it was so interchangeable between the. I have problems discerning it. I couldn't tell if it was a Dalek voice or Davros, and
I could tell it was Briggs.
I could technically tell it was Briggs too, but yeah. Oh well.
Also, from what that was such a disappointment, as well as the denial of a companion that was not from 20th century Earth.
Yeah.
That honestly actually.
Eric, I am going to have to cut you short here because we all have to get the final thoughts and our ratings.
Yeah, this is running very tight.
I'm pretty sure I bored everybody at this point.
No, not at all. But he's right that we do have a very limited time to finish up on the episode we are discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Twitch is anal retentive on us actually doing these in 2 hours now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to move on to Tim for his final thoughts.
My final thoughts. I was a fan of Robin Hood before I got into Doctor Who, so I was really looking forward to this episode. And for the most part, I was not disappointed. The problems with the ending was kind of hard to swallow, like with the golden arrow and the whole thing. But my favorite part of the fact was the reveal that Robin Hood was a real person and that he became a legend, and he was okay with that. Those are my thoughts in a nutshell.
Okay. Aaron?
Yes, mine is very similar to Tim's. Very much I'm very much a Robin Hood fan. Pretty big into Prince of Thieves and how it boasted of being more realistic than other Robin Hood adaptations or
attempts at that time, yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked it. I mean, it felt like Doctor Who in a Robin Hood series, or story. So that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, Matt.
Along with Prince of Thieves, also the Disney version is among some of my favorite versions of Robin Hood. Obviously a little bit more cartoony and talking animals, but still interesting ideas.
Oh yeah.
I won't say that I am by any means a decent historian on Robin Hood, but he is a idea that I quite like. Legend or not. And the fact that he's still in a gray area even to this day is interesting. The fact that they managed to take a gray area man and flesh him out a little bit in a semi-cheesy but semi-realistic way is kind of interesting, especially given the time limitations. The only real falter of this particular story is the fact that they decided to shoehorn sci-fi that just makes everything clunky and not work. If they would have gotten rid of that, it could have very easily been a 5.
Okay.
Done.
Bill?
Well, this is an episode from a middle-of-the-line writer that tends to bore me, writing something right up in his wheelhouse. But it did not bore me, and I would say it's probably the most entertaining Gaddis script that I've seen, which pretty much tells enough to say what this episode really is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it, Bill?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my thoughts are, as I went into this episode, I had read the script, and I don't think much of Gaddis's episodes. He wrote a very good docudrama, Adventures in Space and Time, but everything I've seen thus far...
But he shoehorned sci-fi elements into that historical.
Like I said, it's a docudrama, not necessarily a full-on documentary.
Mm-hmm.
But I still liked it. I liked how it was written. But from what we've seen from his outcomings from Doctor Who, I have been less than impressed. When I read the script, I thought, oh, this is going to be cheesy, as painful as hell. And watching it, I was pleasantly surprised that it was not. I have no issues with any of the acting in this, except for the Sheriff of Nottingham comes off as a bit more camp than I would like him. But just a bit. Just a little. The scenery looks good. I do think that the Robin Hood and His Merry Men were a little too clean cut, but better than I thought they were going to be, so I'll give them that. And my only real beef is with the sci-fi elements in this show, especially the conclusion. So, we go from our final thoughts now to ratings. For you, Eric, we rate from 1 to 5. Half is possible, but no more than that. No quarters, no tenths.
I'm going with a 4.
Solid 4. All right, Tim.
I'm going with 3.5.
All right.
Yeah.
Aaron?
4.
Okay. Matt?
I'm actually with the majority. I was thinking of giving this a 4.
Bill?
What's messed up? My brain is settling on a quarter, and I was going to go whichever direction the crowd was not going, but so far the crowd is split on the quarter.
That's what you get for being contrarian.
I take it that you're wanting to give it either 4 or 3.5.
I want to give it a 3.75, but that doesn't fit the rules.
No, it doesn't.
How about I rate it after you?
Why? Are you just going to get... If I rate on one of those, you're just going to give it the other one?
Yes.
All right. Bill gives it a 4 because I will give it a 3.5. Because of the fact I was going to give it a 4, but then listening to the whole robot part did actually remind me that there was more than just the ending at flaw there. So I will have to get rated below Into the Dalek at 3.5.
Shane just came back, so what's just in time for a rating?
I'll give it a 3.5 because while it was enjoyable, I still had some cringe moments.
Yep.
So that was 4 3.5 and 3 4s. So that puts us at a 3.71.
So just over 3.5.
So that puts
just
us
under 3.5, Matt.
Just under 3 1/4.
3 3/4, I should say. Just under 3.
Yeah, just under 3 3/4. Just below Into the Dalek, still fairly above Deep Breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that will conclude our podcast for this week. Tune in next week when we will be discussing Stephen Moffat's new episode, Listen.
Oh, God.
And expect me to have a few choice words about that.
Moffat! Good night.
Till next time.
Night-night.